Funding for the Maddy Report is made possible by grants from the California Emerging Technology Fund, leaders in the quest for digital equity. The James Irvine Foundation, committed to a California where all low-income workers have the power to advance economically. Fresno State Associated Students, Inc., students serving students. BNSF Railway, moving our economy for 160 years. And The Wonderful Company. The Maddy Report is also made possible thanks to contributions from Harris Ranch Inn and Restaurant and E&J Gallo Winery. From the Maddy Institute, the Public Policy Institute for the Valley's 4 public universities, this is the Maddy Report with Executive Director of the Maddy Institute, Mark Keppler.
Welcome. When you think about the Valley, you probably think about 3 things. 1, agriculture. 2, probably water. And 3, Fresno State. We're fortunate to have the current president of Fresno State with us today, President Saul Jimenez-Sandoval. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us today.
Very pleased to be here, Mark.
So I wanted to ask you, Fresno State is a recognized national leader in both agriculture and water research. What are some of the impactful projects that you're working on at the university? What's happening?
So right now we're focused primarily on the Fresno Merced Future of Food Initiative, the F3. And the goals really of this are to develop the Innovation Center for Research in Engineering, Ag, Food, Technology, and also entrepreneurship. It's called iCreate. And this iCreate is a new jointly developed program between UC Merced and Fresno State, and also the Central Valley Community Foundation. And this has, as its core, the PhD in engineering will be one of the key tenets with that. But many other palpable, very long-lasting, positive socioeconomic impacts within that as well. That's one. The other one, of course, is how do we're promoting right now the use of remote sensors to detect infections, pest levels, moisture levels, soil salinity levels, and yields in vineyards and forage crops as well. We're also really furthering developing artificial intelligence models to predict crop water use requirements, because that's going to be crucial more and more as we go along. And then really developing crop water coefficients for various crops to enable more efficient irrigation as well, among the other things, including Sigma that's coming on in the near future as well.
Right, the Groundwater Act. I mean, one of the things I'm hearing from you pretty consistently is this interdisciplinary approach to our problems. And a good example of that is the connection you're trying to draw between the Lyles College of Engineering, the Craig School of Business, and the Jordan College of Agricultural Sciences and Technology. You're really trying to bring those different disciplines together. How important are these connections, and what outcomes do you expect from them?
It's increasingly more important that we see the economy of the Valley as in a holistic approach, really. It begins with agriculture, and it begins with producing the best crops that we can produce. We have A1 grade soil in the Valley. We represent 1% of agricultural land in the United States, and we produce 25% of all agricultural products. That's incredible. But it's not just producing, it's also how do we food process after that? That's really where engineering comes in. And then after that, of course, it would be how do we then process our food, and how do we market our food, and then create a branding for the region? And that's really where the business component aspect of it comes in as well. So it's this 3-component, 3 holistic approach to the economy of the Valley that is tied directly to the economy of the state as well, of California as a whole for the future.
Yes, Major Driver, one of the things you mentioned that was very interesting, I think people miss sometimes, is soil is actually rated, how fertile it is.
Yeah.
And the Valley has among the most fertile soil in the world. I mean, it's one of the reasons why the agriculture production here is so great. Ag, as you said, is a huge part of the Valley, and it's a huge part of Fresno State. What can we expect to see from the university in this area over the next 3 to 5 years?
I think within the next 3 to 5 years, I can give you some examples of the kinds of research that we're doing right now. Cover crop studies to better understand how to sequester carbon in the soil. That's going to be key for us in the future. Using ground penetrating radar to better understand how roots of various crops behave. We need to be able to have that in order to differentiate what is happening within one plot of land versus another plot of land, for example. And data, of course, is going to be very important within that concept as well. The use of high-density almond plantings to reduce dust will be another key component, because we want to be sustainable in the long run as well. New product development in the dairy industry and evaluation of cheese aroma as well. I've been speaking to farmers throughout, and this is something that is really at the forefront of what they're doing within the dairy industry. We want to examine smoke taint in grapes. We want to look at factors affecting broiler health and well-being. I mean, all of this comes together within Fresno State as the one key leader within the region and also within California that is at the foreground of responding the following. By the year 2050, we'll be 9 billion people in the world, and we'll have to produce 60% more food. That's really where we're positioning ourselves for this future.
Yeah, and there's no question that Fresno State's going to be in the lead on that. And by the way, I want to say that the president, Jimenez-Sandoval, is at a hotel room taking this interview, and it just shows you this guy's working all the time. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us. Up next, we're going to talk about Kern County, what's happening there. That's ground zero for the nation's energy transformation. What's CSUB doing in that regard? A conversation with CSUB President Lynnette Zelezny in a moment. This is the Maddy Report. Welcome back. I'm Mark Keppler with the Maddy Institute. As probably you already know, Bakersfield and Kern County produces 70% of the oil and gas in California. What's less known is how significant they are in other areas of energy, such as wind, solar, geothermal, and biofuels. CSUB is planning to help lead the way for the new energy future in California, and we're delighted to have as our guest California State University Bakersfield President Lynnette Zelezny. Welcome back to the Maddy Report.
Super nice to be with you, Mark. Thanks for the invitation, and delighted to talk about this important topic.
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask you, Kern County, basically the epicenter of California oil production for decades, but we're seeing, a variety of regulatory and market headwinds that could potentially negatively impact this important regional economic driver. So I'm just wondering, what has the university done to proactively address this potential disruption?
Well, we've really been out in front of this. Of course, we want to continue to be aligned with our important partners in petroleum production and also to think in innovative ways. And so the university has been a co-leader on a new inclusive workforce development plan. It's called the Better Bakersfield Boundless Kern. The acronym is B3K. And we've been co-leaders on this from the beginning. And one of the key drivers that we found in working with the Brookings Institute is that energy innovation is really the future of how we need to be positioned in moving forward with those good jobs and in thinking about how we're going to meet California's goal for neutrality. And so what we have done is we've worked together with the Lawrence Livermore Labs, and we've come to think about an ecosystem of energy innovation. And CSUB would be at the hub of this ecosystem with an energy innovation building. And we would have both the academics and research and development, which will be happening here at the CSUB campus, and then applied research out in field stations throughout Kern County. I want to remind you that CSUB is the only four-year university that does research here within 100 miles. And this is also a very unique place to do the type of research that needs to be done. We really are at the epicenter of innovative and important energy sources moving forward. So we're really excited to be at the forefront of it.
Yeah, no question. I mean, there's a lot of organizations that are involved with B3K and the university's role. You can see how you're trying to make this a reality. Let me ask you this. This is going to take some money. There are going to be some resources to make this happen, to help in this energy transition. Are you getting the resources you need?
Well, we're certainly going after potential support because we will need we will need funding, and we'll need funding both for our energy innovation building. The price tag on that is about $83 million. And we are on the short list for the California State University, but we really need to be thinking about the ecosystem. And so we are putting together very collaborative grants that will support this ecosystem moving forward. And we're feeling very hopeful about it. So for those that are interested in technology innovation and research and development, hope you'll think about relocating to Kern County.
Yeah, carbon sequestration is another thing I know that they're looking at in Kern County. So, not just producing the fuel, but then also dealing with the carbon that's already out in the atmosphere. That's another big issue for you guys, isn't it?
That's right. And again, that's what makes Kern County so important in this work, is that this is a place where it really must happen. So again, we feel really privileged to have the opportunity to be thinking outside of the box, and also in a proactive way about how we think about innovative energy for the future.
There's no question. You're also bringing a lot of talent there to the campus, people that research and think are there right on the ground, being able to make a difference in Kern County energy production. Let me ask you this. We've got about a minute left in this segment, but I want to ask you this. What will success look like?
Well, success will certainly look like raising prosperity here in Kern County. That's one of the things that we hope for, because this is one of the drivers of good jobs, of bringing up the quality of life in Kern County. But more than that, it's going to bring taxes, not only to our region, to the state. We also hope that our research and development can be scaled, not only at the state and regional level, but nationally and internationally. And then, we also hope to track in those high school students. We're a low college going community here in Kern County. We're tracking those students from early on into being engineers and innovators for the future, and we'll have those pathways ready.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, that you're calling it the Energy Innovation Building. It's going to be, CSUB is going to be the Energy Innovation Center. I want to thank our guest, CSUB President Lynnette Zelezny, for joining us. Up next, we're going to go to the other end of the San Joaquin Valley and hear from California State University Stanislaus President Junn about some of the unique challenges they're tackling in the North Valley. That conversation in a moment. This is the Maddy Report. Welcome back. I'm Mark Keppler with the Maddy Institute. The North Valley is home to a growing army of telecommuters, and as a result, is one of the fastest growing areas of the state. One of those places in the North Valley that's growing quite quickly is Stockton. As a result, Stan State, as it's affectionately called, is reaching out to ensure that those folks have access to a California State University education. Our guest is the president of California State University Stanislaus, Junn. She's here to tell us about what they're doing in the North Valley. Welcome back to the Maddy Report.
Thank you, Mark. Delighted to be here.
So I want to ask you about your Stockton campus. That's a satellite campus, a branch campus for you. What's your projected student demand, and what's the potential for growth at the Stockton campus?
So the Stockton campus is located on a parcel of land that could potentially house somewhere between 7,500 to 10 or 15,000 FTEs. It depends on a number of other key factors, but that is according to the CSU Enrollment Demand Capacity Assessment Cost Assessment report that was prepared by external consultants that were HOK, HR, and AA advisors. So it is something that we can look forward to expanding as demand continues to grow.
That's a substantial number. How many people are on the main campus there in Stanislaus right now?
We have 10,000 students.
So just to put it in comparison, we're talking about basically doubling the size of what Cal State Stanislaus is offering in the North Valley.
It is potentially that population growth, but that's because the population of Stockton and the surrounding areas in San Joaquin County is large.
Yeah, and only getting larger, for sure. Let me ask you, the state legislatures recognize this, and they've allocated an additional $54 million to your campus to support the Stockton branch campus. How is that money going to be used?
Well, it was so exciting because it's one of the historic initiatives put forward by the legislature, approved by the governor, for the legislature to provide funding directly to a campus specifically for growing facilities and buildings at the Stockton campus. So that was very, very exciting and made possible by a number of our key legislators that represent the San Joaquin Stockton area.
Yeah.
Susan Eggman, Carlos Villapueta, and others, Patrick Johnston in the old days as well. So it will be used to build a new classroom building, as well as to make very important necessary renovations to two buildings at Stockton currently. One is the Acacia building, which is the classroom office building, also has student affairs supports for students, and the Magnolia Mansion, which is a historic, iconic, beautiful building, actually built in the late 1800s. So that building is being renovated as well. So
some of this money is also going to be used for programs and majors being offered. What are you doing in that regard?
So we also received $1 million from the governor to grow enrollment growth. We currently have over 1,000 students at Stockton now. That includes for undergraduates, graduate students, and a doctoral program. So those programs will be allowed to grow at a $1 million base ongoing. So that's baseline support. That also is historic. So that's very much needed as well. And then we also received $1.4 million from Chancellor White prior to his retirement. That was meant to grow degree programs, to expand our degree programs, and to provide additional student support services and academic services at the Stockton campus. So,
I'm sorry, what really caught my attention was the fact that you're going to be increasing programs and majors in healthcare and in logistics. And logistics in particular, maybe it's just because I'm a business professor, I noticed this in particular, it's in my silo, but the North Valley is becoming a major logistical center. So you're teeing that up, preparing for the market. Listen, we only have about a minute left in this segment, but I did want to ask you about this Community Equity Research Center that's going to be located on the Stockton campus. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, the CERC, which stands for Community Equity Research Center, is going to be located in the Magnolia Mansion at the Stockton campus, and it is a research center that involves faculty, students, and the community to engage in what we call participatory community action research. So that is community-based learning, it's grassroots action, and there's participation of all the members of the community in generating solutions to improve the quality of life in Stockton. So it's a very exciting effort. We have three faculty and a graduate student and a director and clerical staff that will all be working there. So
very busy. And it doesn't surprise me that your phone went off because I'm glad we were able to get you for the time we got you because you're an extremely busy person. I want to thank Ellen Junn, the president of California State University Stanislaus, for joining us. Up next, we'll hear from UC Merced Chancellor Juan Munoz about one of the major programs they're involved in making the Valley a better place. That conversation in a moment. This is the Maddy Report. Welcome back. I'm Mark Keppler with the Maddy Institute. We're talking with the Valley's leaders in higher education. Our next guest is the leader of the Valley's University of California campus, and that is UC Merced Chancellor Juan Munoz. Welcome back to the Maddy Report.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me.
So I want to ask you, the Valley has been facing a doctor shortage for some time, and that's on top of these multiple health crises that we're dealing with, the COVID pandemic. And let me put it just in context of how bad it is. The California Future Health Workforce Commission reported the San Joaquin Valley has 40% fewer primary care physicians and 50% fewer specialists than the state's wealthiest areas. And that was before COVID when they did that analysis. So what is UC Merced's plans to build capacity for medical education in the Valley?
Right. Well, thank you. And thank you again for your focus on this a terribly important issue, not just for the San Joaquin Valley, but for the state of California. From the inception of the campus, it was always discussed that eventually the university would be in a position to help train a cadre of medical professionals, both physicians, nurses, complementary services related to health and the well-being of the community. That had not come to fruition yet. And so looking at the kinds of numbers that you just described, as well as just more general numbers of the Valley having approximately 1/3 of the physicians of the average, 1/3 of the per 100,000 of the average across the entirety of the state. The statistics you just referenced are even more somber. It was very important to the future of the campus. And so in the last 12 months, we have worked diligently with our representatives like Representative Gray, Senator Caballero, the governor, the legislature, the speaker, even Representatives Arambula down in closer to Fresno, to obtain the resources to construct a facility that would be our health, behavioral science, medical education building, which would be the cornerstone of our training of medical professionals here in the Valley that would eventually lead to an autonomous medical school here at UC Merced in the future.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you have something called San Joaquin Valley Prime Plus program. How is that going to build regional capacity with existing partners?
Right. So the PRIME program is a program through the University of California that has existed for some time. That now we will have an iteration that has actually received some additional funding called the San Joaquin Valley PRIME Programs in Medical Education. And the idea is that we will recruit students that would be part of the San Joaquin Valley PRIME program through the University of California, ideally students from the region here, the San Joaquin Valley, that would begin their medical education program here at UC Merced. The program is essentially an 8-year program. And what we would be doing is recruiting students as freshmen to complete a Bachelor's of Science degree at UC Merced, and then begin their 2 years of basic medical education in the facility I described a moment ago, and then transfer to UC San Francisco in Fresno for their clinical training of about 30 months. And then ideally, we would have this sort of constellation of partnerships across the San Joaquin Valley for that clinical training and residencies, etc. We know that there's a high percentage of physicians who do their remain in the geographies in which they conduct this.
That's so critical. I mean, that's why we're doing this, because if they train here, they'll stay here.
That's our hope.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question. Governor Newsom recently visited your campus and announced a pretty big investment by the state in UC Merced. What was that investment, and what are you going to do with the money?
Well, that extraordinary, and we're just so grateful to the governor and his entire staff, his team, as well as the Senate and the House for their agreeing to essentially provide the funds that would lead to the construction of this building that I've described, the health, behavioral science, and medical education building. This facility will house our medical education program. It will house our public health program, and it will house our Department of Psychology, as well as perhaps nursing in the future. And now what we have is an organized facility to train medical professionals, not just in the mechanics of the delivery of that medicine, but to understand the policy implications of how this how this medical training is delivered across the San Joaquin Valley. It's very important to know it's not clinics. Outreach has to be done in a way that are effective for the communities that you purport to want to serve. And so the public health and the policy training, as part of the training of these medical professionals, doctors, nurses, etc., is so critically important and often overlooked in the traditional medical education programs.
Yeah, and I want to mention just, it's starting off in 2023 when you'll be having your first class of 12 students, but your hope to build it out to 2,200 students by 2030. And we're all looking forward to that. I want to thank our guest, UC Merced Chancellor Juan Munoz, for joining us. And thank you for joining us. If you want to stay current with state and local politics, you can sign up for the Maddy Daily by logging on our website at maddyinstitute.org. This is Mark Keppler for the Maddy Report. Thanks for joining us.
The views expressed in the Maddy Report are those of the individuals participating in the program and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Maddy Institute. If you'd like to share your thoughts about today's episode of the Maddy Report, please visit our website at maddyinstitute.org. If you want to stay up to date on state and local politics, you can sign up for our free e-newsletter, The Maddy Daily, by logging on to our website at maddyinstitute.org.